Hello and welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Angelic Footprints podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me. Her name is Laura Van Tyne, and I'm really excited to have Laura with us because Laura works with the angelic realm. But let me back up a little bit. She is also a remote viewer, a psychic medium, a regressionist, and author. She holds a BS in education, a BA in Spanish, a master's degree in second language acquisition, having spent much of her life as a middle school teacher until the paranormal came crashing through her home. Sounds like the angels had plans for Laura. And Laura, as I said, she does work with the angelic realm, but she also emphasizes soul, health, and how we can nurture it. Laura, welcome. I know I've given you quite an extensive bio. I'm so excited to hear more of your story. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, and thank you. So, like you said, I was a middle school math and Spanish teacher, and one day everything just sort of changed. And my in-laws had died within 6 months of each other, and a year later my dad died. My dad was living with us as a ghost, and I didn't know the difference because back then, 20 years ago, the internet, the information wasn't as readily available as it is today. And we were having this conversation, well, why is my dad here and where are the in-laws, my husband's parents? And when I said that, I looked out in the backyard and I could see my in-laws and two pairs of angels with them over our pool in the backyard. And I telepathically said, "Well, why aren't you coming in?" And they said, "Because you didn't invite us."
Wow. Wow. That is just such a great story. And I love how you led into that with, oh, the days before the internet. I think you and I are old enough to remember that. And it's like the days before social media, having a life without all of this computer stuff and all of the tech. It is quite different now. If you were to do a search on angels and the paranormal, there'd be loads of stuff that comes up. Laura, thank you so much for sharing. You told us already a little bit about your first angelic experience. Would you like to tell us about some others?
Absolutely. So when my in-laws came through, I invited them in, of course. What do you say? You want a cup of tea? And, I invited them in, and the angel says, "Get ready, we have messages for you." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm ready, I've got my pen and paper, and I still have these messages to this day because this is the foundation, this is the basic tenets of my relationship with the angelic realms. And they started off by saying, 1, love never dies. Love transcends dimensions. And this is an important concept I think that we need to understand because when somebody dies, a lot of times we say it wasn't his time, it wasn't the natural order, etc. That's not ours to judge.
Mm,
And so we have to understand that when a loved one, and even a not so loved one perhaps, dies, the love that we have for each other doesn't die. It transcends these dimensions. This is an important concept.
yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like the angels wanted to get you in there right away, set the ground rules for how your journey was going to continue with them. I absolutely love that. Laura, tell me, how has having angels in your life influenced you?
I learned right away that angels are here to serve humanity. I also learned that humanity is here to serve angels.
Mm.
And so we have been programmed to think a lot of things about angels. My problem isn't big enough for an angel. I may not be worthy enough for an angel's help. All of these pre programmed beliefs are absolutely incorrect. All of these pre programmed beliefs need to go to the side. What we need to do is we need to start learning how to work to build our relationship with the angels and not just wait for the big ask. It's no different than having a relationship with a friend. You don't go to the friend every time you need them. You also enjoy each other's company. You start to learn about one another. It's the same concept, but it's with the angelic realms.
Isn't that so true? And you know, I think in all of the times that I've had guests on the show, nobody has ever articulated it quite like that. It's from what I can gather from what you're saying, it's like having a relationship with
Yeah.
the angels like you would your friend. Is that what you're saying to us?
Absolutely. When we learn to have a relationship with the angels and we vet them, and we'll talk about that later, um, we start to grow our spiritual teams. We start to embark on connecting to the higher realms. We start to learn how to trust our intuitive abilities as well. These are important tenets to understand that the angels are here to help and serve us, but we have to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You mentioned an interesting thing just then. You talked about vetting your angels. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
So, these spiritual realms aren't all unicorns and rainbows, right? There are some other things out there that we don't want to necessarily deal with. Okay. We can call them the dark side, the demons, or whatever it is. And so, what I learned early on is that there are dark beings that can pretend to be angels. And it is our responsibility to vet our angelic teams, our any light beings that we are communicating with, to make sure that we're not working with a shapeshifter or an imposter. Now, think about this. This is no different than, I'm just going to pick on this institution for a moment. It's no different than the pedophile priest. So we have a priest in
Oof.
our community, let's say, and he's been with the community for maybe 20 years. And then we find out he's a pedophile. That is a shapeshifter. He's hiding under the guise of God, right? It
Yeah.
happens in the third dimension, this physical world we live in. It can happen in the other dimensions. I'm not saying this to scare people, but I'm saying this so we can learn and learn from my past history too, because I didn't know this in the beginning. And so let's just kind of practice vetting the angels for a minute. One, it's a visualization technique, meaning I can think the thoughts and I'm going to learn how to feel into this. So
Hmm.
even if you cannot physically see your angels, you're going to start learning how to feel into them. How do I feel around myself? Is my energy calm? If I move over here, is there a slight difference in the way things feel if I go over here? So, learning, giving yourself the gift of time to meditate and pray and to lean into how the angels feel around you is a really big deal. We all have that right. So, the first visualization technique we can do is utilizing salt. Salt cleanses in all dimensions. We used to use salt to cure our meat before refrigeration.
Mm,
We
yeah.
used to use it to clean wounds. Thank God we don't have to do that anymore. Um,
Oh,
right? And so the frequency of salt is high. A lot of times people say put salt over the threshold of your door to keep the dark stuff out. That kind of stuff. So let's say that I'm working with my angel and he's right here. I'm going to visualize myself pouring this huge, heavy, torrential rain of salt through him. And as I'm doing this, I am learning how to feel. Is he still there? Did he shapeshift into something else? And if that's the case, you go straight to God and say, get him out.
yeah.
And the angelic realms do like to have us test and vet them. It's not blasphemy. So if you're vetting your angel and it disappears or it doesn't, something happens, then just know you dodged a bullet. And it's not that you weren't worthy, but you dodged a bullet.
That is such a good tip because we don't generally think about that. We think about angels being from love and light. And I guess we could describe it in terms of balance as well, where you have night, you have day, where you have the seasons like winter, then you have summer and spring. So it's the same thing. Everything in nature has balance. So there can be dark forces. And I love your tips. So anyone who's working with the angelic realm, especially if you're starting out, then remember to put some kind of protection around you. By all means, use the salt, use the techniques that Laura has given us. And you might even find that there's a few of your own that you want to add in there as well. And if any of you are listening or watching this particular show, do pop them in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you're working with, to see what's worked and what hasn't worked. Laura, any other special thoughts that you would like to share with us today about angels or your work with the angels? How does that work?
First of all, I wanna kinda tag onto what you said. These are spiritual practices, right? So we have to practice. We may not get it right the first time or the 10th time, but we'll get there. So
We
just
will.
know that these are spiritual practices. Are there any other thoughts? One is we need to, like I said before, build these relationships with the angels. So I remember a number of years ago, one of my daughters had a really severe concussion and she literally had to learn how to read again. It was that bad. And she got her license finally and she wanted to go surfing with her friends, but she didn't want her mom to take her, right? So she gets her license and she's had her license for maybe 3 or 4 days at this point. And in the United
Mhm.
States, getting your license is a really big deal because you can't go anywhere without a car here. And, the night before, I'm like, "You can't drive yourself. There's gonna be an accident. It won't be your fault, but there's gonna be an accident." And you would have thought World War III erupted in our house, okay? "Oh, mom, don't be weird, mom, stop being psychic, mom, don't be a helicopter parent," all of the things. And I thought I had a choice in that moment. I could have my family hate me forever over this element, or I can employ the use of angels. So I thought about it, and that night before I went to bed, I asked that my daughter's car on the outside be surrounded by an entourage of angels to protect her. I wanted a pair of angel hands on her hands over the steering wheel. And I'm making these very specific requests. So the more specific we can be with our angel help, the better direction they get. So I was very specific. From the minute she leaves the home until the minute she comes home, I am I'm telling them, I'm not asking them. I'm telling these angels to protect my daughter. And
Yeah.
so she goes, and we're maybe like 2 exits from on the freeway to the ocean down in San Diego. And she gets on the freeway, and, like, 10 minutes after she left, we get this phone call. Mom, I was in an accident. I'm okay." And I mean, my husband and I, like, we pretty much teleported over there, right? And we get there, and the highway patrol officer says, "Ma'am, I don't know how your daughter's car, based on the point of impact, didn't spin out across the freeway. She got lucky." And I thought, she didn't get lucky. She had angels."
She had lots of help.
Yes, and so I talked to my daughter about it, and so she says to me, she goes, "Mom, it was the weirdest thing. I saw this really big truck coming up behind me." This is like 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and I thought that was a safe time to drive, but apparently that's when the drunks are still driving, I guess, I don't know. And this truck comes up behind her, and she's got a smaller car and nicks her in the corner of the car, and she should have spun out. She didn't. She goes, "It was the weirdest thing, mom. It was like my hands were on the steering wheel and they were still, they were steady, they were warm, and I just floated to the side of the road." That's the
Gives
power
me
of
goosebumps.
angels.
That gives me goosebumps. I love it. And they did exactly what you asked. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing to say. It is just the power of that that ask, isn't it? And I'm so glad that you shared that story with us, but more glad that your daughter was safe as well. Did you end up telling her that you'd ask for angels to help?
Oh, absolutely, right? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I was right there. I had a premonition that something was amiss. I didn't know what it was, and this is the hard thing with premonitions, because right, how do you tell? So ask the angels to help you go through those premonitions.
Mm, mm. Laura, thank you for sharing. That is an amazing story and just another, beautiful verification how angels can help us in our lives. Laura, it's been such a pleasure having you share your stories and your journey with us. How can people get in touch with you? Would you like to share that with everybody, please? Either your website, your social media?
Absolutely. So my website is my name, lauravantine.com, VANTYNE.com. And on my website, I write weekly blogs on a variety of topics. There's a lot of them on angels. There's a lot of them on how angels can help us to build our soul tribe, our spiritual teams. I have a lot of social media on Facebook under my name, Instagram on my name, YouTube as well. And in my YouTube channel, I take client sessions with their permission, and I break them down to have teachable moments on how this other world operates. So thank you for asking.
That is fantastic, and I'll make sure that I put all of your socials and your website onto, the platform so that people can get in touch with you. Thank you for sharing. Did you wanna promote a book or a special offer, something that you've got going that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners?
I have books out there. The first book, Soul Tribe Navigating the Spiritual War, is kind of a handbook on how to work with the angels, how to work with your higher self. And it's a small book and it's designed to give people bullet points to help themselves. The other two books are how the spiritual aspects work and how we're kind of I think we can all agree to this. We're in kind of this funky little spiritual war going on, right? With the light and the dark and all of the things. And so those books are on that. And then I've got one on my history where I share like my story of how I went from like a school teacher to what I do now. So thank you.
Are those available on Amazon, your website, or something else?
Amazon, they're available on Amazon, they're on my website, they're, Barnes& and Noble and the other outlets too, so they can find them pretty much anywhere, so thank you, yeah.
Wonderful. I love the first one. You talked about the first book being bullet points. It follows what I call the KISS principle. Keep it super simple. So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. For all our viewers and listeners, thank you for being with us. I hope you've enjoyed Laura's stories and I hope that you can implement some of the things that Laura has shared with us into your life and really make it work for you. In the meantime, I want to say thank you for being a valued listener and for being here. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a 5-star review on the platform where you are listening. If you enjoyed aspects of this that you know other people will benefit from, please consider sharing it with 3 people who you know could really find its message useful. Until the next episode, blessings and may your life be filled with hope and inspiration.